Hi everybody, welcome to Saturday Live at the Backyard Bird Center. Well, it's no secret that around here we love birds, but we are willing to acknowledge that sometimes birds can cause us problems in our daily lives. And one of those birds, or one of the group of birds that's most famous for doing it, are the woodpeckers. Yeah, sometimes we have birds tapping on our windows and chasing a reflection. We'll do a whole nother show on that later. But before the woodpeckers hitting on your house can be a problem. And we're always here to try to help and solve that problem. And I thought this show would be great to do that because we get these questions pretty regularly. Now, why do woodpeckers hit on houses? Well, you can imagine if you have a wooden house, usually if you have a brick house, this isn't a problem, but if you have a wood house or a house of siding, your house to them is just the biggest, softest tree in the forest. So the things that they do in their daily lives, they can do on your house, and it actually benefit them. In the spring, they mainly tap on hollow things, and they want the maximum sound to attract a mate or to mark their territory. This in the spring, sometimes they hit on your gutters, your downspouts, metal flashing, a loose piece of wood, because that maximum resonance is a sign to the rest of the world that, hey, look, I'm the biggest, baddest woodpecker in the forest. So that's why they do that. Not so much of that going on this time of year. They also are the what do we call them, the construction workers of the forest. So they're always drilling holes, and they drill holes for lots of reasons. Obviously to nest in, and that's not this time of year. But they also drill holes to roost in at night. They drill holes to store food in, and there's some pretty famous stories of some of the more acorn-dependent woodpecker species of storing huge amounts of acorns in a person's house and their cabin that they'd only go visit at certain times of the year. They drilled a hole in the wall and filled. When the people got there on the weekend, they went in the house and there was this huge pile of acorns on the floor where this woodpecker had just been constantly stuffing acorns into that hole. So they do use it to store food, and that drilling can be going on right now, that's for sure. But they also drill holes because they're looking for food. Now, right away, that when I mention this to people, they go, oh no, we've had our house inspected for insects. We don't have bugs. This is true. You probably don't. This time of year, a lot of insects are looking for crevices and cracks to get into to overwinter. And woodpeckers and Carolina wrens and lots of birds are prying in cracks in woods looking for these small insects that are up there hiding, because that's their meals. Well, you don't have to have insects in your house to fool woodpeckers into thinking you do. It was discovered several years ago now. We've known for years that woodpeckers and shorebirds sense vibration through their feet, the pads in their feet. Like a shorebird walking on that large expanse of beach, how do they know where to stick their bill in to get that worm that's crawling around underneath there? They sense the vibration of that worm moving through the pads of their feet, and they stick their beak in. Woodpeckers the same thing. On the side of a tree, they sense the gnawing of insects and grubs under the wood and through the pads of their feet. And then they stick their tongue in there, or they tap a small hole to stick their tongue in there to get back to that meal that they want. You may not have those in your house, but we learned that electrical current can fool woodpeckers into thinking that. So if you see a woodpecker drilling on the side of your house, and especially if he's making small holes all in a row, it could be that you have electrical wire right inside your wall, and whenever the light switch is on and there's current running through that, he may think that that's an insect gnawing under the wood and he's trying to get to it. So they're just doing what comes natural to them. But we don't want that damage in our homes, and that's understandable. So how do we discourage them? How do we keep these birds from doing this? Well, pretty much anything you can do needs to be visual. Remember, these are federally protected birds, so you can't kill them. And there are people who, their first reaction, I'll just shoot that bird. You can't do that unless you get a take permit from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and I can assure you this is a very difficult permit to get. But they want you to exhaust all your attempts to discourage those birds. And it can be fairly easy. Several years ago, I had a granddad come up to me of a friend of my daughter's, and he was asking me about this very problem, that he had spent all this money trying to get rid of this woodpecker. He had paid a company to come out and try to get rid of it, and all attempts had failed. And I said, well, have you tried a rubber snake? And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he said, a rubber snake? I said, yeah, just a toy rubber snake. Like that. A toy rubber snake tacked up in the area in which that woodpecker is drilling on your house is one of the best things you can do to discourage them. Snakes are mortal enemies of woodpeckers. They crawl up trees, they get into their holes, they eat their nests, they eat their eggs, they eat their babies, and woodpeckers hate them. And this is the easiest thing, the cheapest thing I know to discourage not only woodpeckers hitting on the side of your house, but birds that are building a nest where you don't want them to, laying a rubber snake up on the ledge where they're coming to. That is the first solution, and you should try that and see if that doesn't work for you. Another great way to discourage them visually is by a product called scare tape. And scare tape is just mylar ribbon. And mylar ribbon, we just cut it in strips of 12, 14 inches long. We twist it like a diva and punch a hole and run a fishing line through it and hang those strips down from under your eave on the side where the woodpeckers are hitting on your house, and let the wind spin them. And that reflection, that flashing of those prismatic colors really discourages those woodpeckers, because they're always on the lookout for predators, hawks flying by them, and they're very jumpy when it comes to that kind of image. And so whenever they're constantly being distracted by the flashing of those colors on that scare tape is what runs them off, and they get tired of it and they want to move along. So another really cheap, simple way to try to discourage those woodpeckers from hitting on your house. Now, there are more expensive ways, like the plastic owls that have the rotating heads. You can post those up nearby. They can be less effective, but some people swear by them. So, there are different methods to try. Now, I'm going to propose one that has been used for years around here, and that is, a lot of people call peanut feeders their woodpecker insurance. I have many customers, been doing this a little 35 years now, and I've had so many people say, boy, the day I put up that peanut feeder and got the woodpeckers eating those peanuts, they left my house alone. So I wish I could show you scientific studies that proved it, but I can't. There's not any data out there that would help me there, but I can just tell you from personal experience that there's been a lot of testimony from customers who continually feed the peanuts with the woodpecker feeders, these peanut feeders, to keep the woodpeckers off their house. So it's a great, we love woodpeckers. They're very important parts of our environment. They're fun to watch at our bird feeders. We just don't want them hitting on our house. So deal with them in a safe manner. I know stories of people who tried to rig up a way to shock the woodpeckers when they were drilling on their house and ended up burning down their house. This has happened many years ago in North Carolina, where I was from, and the guy thought he was a genius, and unfortunately it didn't work so well for him. But if you like the videos, please share them. That helps us out. Like them, obviously. Send us in ideas for future shows, and if you're interested in watching ones from the past, you can find those on our website, backyardbirdcenter.com, under the Learn More and the Videos tab. All my videos are on there, so take a look at those. And until then, we'll see you next week, and come by, let's talk birds.